Okay, good evening. I would like to call to order the November 9, 2020 Lake Washington School Board meeting. Let the record reflect that all board members are present and participating remotely. All meeting participants will be joining the meeting remotely, also in alignment with the current proclamation issued by Governor Inslee. This board meeting will be live streamed and viewable on the district's website. If you are unable to live stream the meeting, viewers can call 425-936-2813 and enter conference ID 37127 to listen to the meeting. First thing for us to do tonight is to approve the agenda for this November 9 meeting. So I will now entertain a motion to approve the November 9 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Bleasner and seconded by Director Stewart that we approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 All those opposed, hearing none, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda tonight is public comment. And Diane, have we received any public comment this afternoon?
No, we have not.
Okay, so at this time we've received no public comment. I will say though, just for those who are listening tonight, that due to the coronavirus and we're holding all board meetings remotely, we're not having in-person public comment, but you do have the opportunity and the option to provide comment to the board in 3 different ways. One is by writing to the board, and please submit those public comments to Diane Jenkins by email at the email address djenkins@lwsd.org by 3 p.m. on the date of the board meeting. And those submissions will be compiled and distributed to the board and posted on the district's website. In addition, you can request to provide live public comment via the Zoom platform. And to do that, please also email Diane Jenkins at djenkins@lwsd.org by 1 p.m. on the date of the board meeting, and a link to access the Teams meeting will be provided to you. Finally, you can give public comment by leaving a voicemail message at the phone number 425-936-1257. So the board welcomes hearing from the public and appreciates all who are able to find the time to do that. So those are the options that we currently have in place during these times. Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the November 9 consent agenda. And I will now entertain.
So moved.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Director Stewart and seconded by Director Bleasner that we approve the consent agenda. Dr. Holman, will you please poll the board?
Absolutely. Director Sage,
Yes.
Director Bleasner,
Yes.
Director Carlson,
Yes.
Vice President Stewart,
Yes.
and President LaLiberty.
Yes. Dr. Holman, would you please summarize the donations that we received?
Absolutely. So for tonight, the November 9 board meeting, we have just over $69,000 of donations, about $39,000 of that from our local PTSAs, and about $29,000 of that from private sources. As always, we thank our community for their ongoing support for our schools, program services, even in this remote environment where the majority of students are learning. Their ongoing support for our schools, our staff, our school teams is tremendously appreciated.
Excellent, thank you. The first item on our non-consent agenda is a business and support services update. Dr. Holman, will you please provide that?
Absolutely, and as Associate Superintendent Barbara Posthumus is coming on screen and getting her presentation set up, I just want to recognize that Barbara oversees a division that has a significant amount of work. And so we kind of talked about, what's a great way to apprise the board and update the board on the work within that division. You've received kind of disparate presentations over the years. You've received the transportation update, you've received the nutrition services update, you've received a facilities update, but never kind of thinking of it as a total compilation of a division. And so tonight, Barbara will kind of walk through. There's a lot of data. She's not going to read every word on every slide, but we thought it was very beneficial for the board to actually have all of the information on this slide deck, because it really shows the amount of work to really operate the school district from within Barbara's division. Tremendously proud of the work that whole team does, and excited for Barbara to share that information with you tonight. So Barbara, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, John. Yes, I'm pleased tonight, and as my PowerPoint is loading, as John mentioned, I'm pleased to share information about the ongoing work that's happening in business and support services. You should see the presentation now. So our strategic goal of effective use of resources focuses on our resources, using our resources responsibly and effectively in order to achieve success for all students. So both of these departments, business and support services, work together with all of our staff to ensure stewardship of taxpayer dollars and use efficient use of resources. This allows many dollars as possible to be focused on teaching and learning in support of our students. So first we'll review business services. Business services is overseen by Chris Brennigan, our Director of Business Services. He's here tonight. So our first department, accounting, I want to begin with financial management and fiscal responsibility. Our district, state auditors spend about 6 months in our district, and we pouring over all aspects of the bills that we pay, the staff that we pay, purchases that we buy, and we consistently receive clean annual audits each year. So we're very proud of that fact. I also want to highlight that our school district has the highest credit rating assigned to any school district in the state. We have an S&P credit rating of AA+. This rating has only been assigned to 3 other districts. That's Lake Washington, Issaquah, and Bellevue. Moody's Investor Services has assigned the district a AAA credit rating, which is also the highest rating possible. Less than 0.5% of school districts in the nation hold this rating from Moody's. These high credit ratings allow the district to take advantage of the lowest interest rates possible. In addition, in the last 5 years, the district has saved taxpayers over $42 million through refinancing of our bonds. Just some statistics. One of the things we do in accounting is we use a purchasing card for many of our transactions, and that provides the district a rebate of over $250,000, and that money is then put back into our operating budget to support our operations. Accounting also every year puts together our year-end financial reporting for the state. So payroll and benefits, one of the priorities, the prime focus of our payroll department is to get our staff paid each month. We pay over 4,000 employees, substitutes, and coaches. Payroll works closely with our human resources department, who you're going to hear from later tonight, to ensure our staff are paid accurately and on time. Payroll is also responsible for benefits, and the major work last year was the state mandated conversion to SEB. Our district was recognized by the state as having the most staff participate during open enrollment. Chris Brennigan represents school districts in a regular meeting with leaders at the Healthcare Authority who oversees the SEB program. He represents the district voices and provides feedback on issues. And these meetings and his participation has resulted in beneficial changes for districts across the state. Again, there's just some statistics on the slides. I won't read them all, but of September payroll. So the next department is purchasing, and I apologize, I should have gone back, and Margot Allen is a manager of our accounting department, Alice Bredehoff, a manager of our payroll department, and Wendy Johnson Kessler is the manager of our purchasing department. And our purchasing department ensures that the district is getting the best product for the lowest prices. And one of the things they do is when a department needs to buy something, they go out and they make sure they are sourcing and finding the vendor that can get us the product for the least amount of money. And this year, they have provided over $6 million of savings due to competitive sourcing and bids. They process between 4,000 to 5,000 purchase orders each year. They have to rebid major contracts on a regular cycle. Those include nutrition services. I'll talk about that a little later. Specialized transportation services, our laptops, our network managed services, copy machines, activities and athletics such as yearbooks and vending. They also are furnishing all our new capital projects is a major effort every year. Since in the last 4 years, they have outfitted the furniture, fixtures, and equipment for 6 schools, 2 remodels, 1 addition, and 38 portables. And you can see some pictures there of new classroom furniture and equipment in our science labs. So this is just some statistics this year. Purchasing in conjunction with our safety and security department, purchasing sourced and purchased the needed PPE in order to return staff and students to school. They worked with technology to purchase needed laptops and hotspots for remote learning. So there's just some statistics of 5,300 gallons of hand sanitizer, and you can see some pictures of the buckets of hand sanitizer there. Some plexiglass barriers, and then boxes of gloves and masks. And again, we have more laptops. These were just the new ones that we needed to purchase to distribute to students that needed them. So our budget and finance department, overseen by Lynn Pike, we have received the Meritorious Budget Award since 2017. This award our budget, and the award signifies how we communicate that our resources are aligned with our strategic goals and shows our commitment to sound fiscal management and budgetary policies. The budget department provides enrollment reporting and projections. We've enhanced that work by engaging with Flow Analytics last year, and we're continuing to work with them. The enrollment projections drive many staffing allocations. And again, this department works closely with human resources to ensure the right number of staff are hired and within budget. This department also manages grant claims and free and reduced applications. So the next department, the last department in business services is nutrition services, and Kevin Nelson is the manager of that department. And nutrition services, their goal is to offer access to nutrition meals, which allows all of our students the opportunity to succeed. Sodexo, we have to rebid this contract with Sodexo every 5 years, and they successfully completed the bid process last spring. We are celebrating almost 40 years of partners with Sodexo. They have been with our district for over 40 years, and we just couldn't have asked for a better partner, especially during this time of school closure. Since school closed, they have been working very hard to ensure students have meals. We've been providing the board statistics on the grab and go meals, but we've served almost 500,000 meals have been provided since March. And there's just some pictures of our Kids Can Cook on the left is when we're in session. We do a little competition and kids bring in recipes, and that is just my favorite time of year to come see these students make their recipes and present their information, and just pictures of the wonderful food. And then on the right is pictures of families picking up their grab and go meals. So moving on to support services. Support services is overseen by our executive director, Brian Buck, and also director of support services, Robert Foster. Robert Foster has direct oversight to transportation, maintenance, custodial, and warehouse. So first I'll talk about capital projects, and you get to hear a lot about our capital projects in our facilities update. And we partner, I want to just highlight that we partner with OAC, that is our construction services company that helps with our project management to all of these projects. That group also provides support for Facility Advisory Committee. This group also continues to refine our common standards for construction projects. So Laura DeGoyer, our manager of that department, also has oversight to our resource conservation management program. This is a program that we have had since 2006. We partner with McKinstry for the program. They also provide a resource conservation manager, Jed Reynolds. You may have heard his name before. But since we've implemented this program, we have saved over $15 million. We also, even as we grow and add new schools, we've reduced our energy consumption, which limits the increase in our operating cost. The Resource Conservation Management Program works to obtain rebates from Puget Sound Energy. They also have worked in conjunction with the CTE department to create a Green Team Advisory Group, and our district has won numerous Green Ribbon Awards honoring our sustainability efforts. So custodial services, which is overseen by Mariah Jones, manages that department. The district has over 130 custodians and substitutes who clean 4.3 million square feet of buildings. Each summer, we have specific teams focusing on pressure washing, carpet cleaning, waxing, etc. You can see in the picture to the left, the entry walkway before pressure washing and after pressure washing. The picture in the middle is a surplus bus that we use to create a mobile carpet cleaning machine, and we use that machine to do our summer cleaning throughout the district. We also have developed and trained a custodial response team to respond to any COVID cases in case of COVID cases on site. The team is able to get a building or the necessary part of a building cleaned and reopened quickly and efficiently, which eliminates the need to close our buildings for multiple days. So we're very proud of that team that's been developed. So our maintenance services program, which John Coleman is the manager of that department, and our maintenance team, which includes 15 grounds crew and 19 trades. They cover 700 acres of grounds and 16,000 work orders completed over our 55 schools and facilities. They also work with our community partners, such as our PTAs, to complete sponsored projects. Those are when a PTA might donate money to install a bench or create a garden, and our facilities department works with them. Lake Washington is one of 12 school districts in the country to receive IPM STAR certification, and that's Institute of Pest Management. It's designed to help schools reduce pest and pesticide risks. The process includes a 37-point on-site evaluation of our pest management program and practices. So that's pretty special to be one of 12 in the nation. And as we reported last year during our major snowstorm, we have continued to enhance our snow removal response. We hope we will have less snow this year than we did last year. So our transportation and fleet services, Dana Chandler is the director of this department. She is beginning in this role beginning December 1st. So we're very excited to have her on board and can't wait for her to join us. So our transportation, the statistics on the left are data from when school is in session from last year. So we typically transport over 8,900 students and 700 students who receive specialized transportation, 1.3 million miles. We currently, whilst we are in remote learning, are transporting 230 students who receive specialized transportation. Transportation has been working hard to provide upgraded enhancements to help our community and our parents know where their buses are and what time their buses are going to arrive at the bus stop. So we have completed implementation of a Find My Bus parent app. We continue to upgrade our GPS tablets that are on our buses, and we are continuing to work on the next phase of that implementation. During the school closure, we were able to implement a new bus trip system software for field and activity trips. So that will be in full use once we are able to do field trips again. And then we are ongoing teaming with human resources to enhance our recruiting process in order to continue to hire the excellent bus drivers that we need to transport our students. So lastly, our warehouse services overseen by Ella Nordby. Our warehouse truck drivers and mail messengers support deliveries for nutrition services, supplies, curriculum, technology, and district mail. They recently realigned the mail delivery and nutrition services routes for increased efficiency. We've opened up two new elementary schools and one new middle school. And in order to do the same work with the same number of staff, we've had to keep increasing efficiencies. So we did that and have been able to maintain the same level of staffing. We provided significant support receiving, the warehouse has provided significant support in delivering the needed PPE equipment this fall to schools. So you can see just some pictures there of our warehouse trucks, the PPE, the nutrition services, food deliveries. So that was a very quick, fast highlight of all of the work that my team does. And I just want to thank my team. I'm proud of my team. They work very hard to support and do what's best for students and staff. So any questions?
Any board member questions?
Just a thank you for how thoughtful you and your team are in budgeting and preparing for unknown years, such as the one we're currently having, which has led us to be in a better financial situation than, unfortunately, many other districts. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, the next and last item on the non-consent agenda is a staffing update. Dr. Holman, will you kick us off with that?
Absolutely, and again, just want to thank Barbara and team for that presentation and all of their work, so appreciate that. And our next presentation is a staffing update, and so you may see on the screen a number of individuals that you may not have met, but tonight you get to meet them. That is our Human Resources team, led by Dr. Joy Ross, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. And so, Barbara, if you would go ahead and unshare your screen, we'll be able to switch over to let Dr. Ross and her team provide their presentation. And I just want to recognize this team and their tremendous efforts during this COVID time. Human resources is always essential and critical. And during these times when staff have so many questions, they wonder about their work responsibilities, leaves, all of those things. This team, partnering with, as Barbara mentioned, her team on many of these things has just really been appreciated. They're also focused in ensuring that our recruitment, hiring, retention of staff is what we want it to be. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Ross and lead us through this presentation.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn my camera off just to make sure that I have all the necessary juice to run this PowerPoint. First of all, would just like to extend sincere thanks on behalf of the Human Resources Department. It is indeed exciting to be with you this evening to share about the initiatives and the efforts that are planned. I'm excited that there are 3 members of the Human Resources team this evening who you will also hear from with regards to their respective areas. And so just embracing the opportunity to share this space and to let you see the efforts of the Human Resources Department and what it is that we're working on. When you think about this current time in the U.S. History with regards to education and COVID, and what this experience is playing out as, with a significant portion of our students operating and learning in a remote space, that provides or proves to be very challenging for a school district. And to say that the HR department has not had some interesting experiences in this time is certainly an understatement. And so being mindful of that, wanting to look at how we can marshal our efforts to ensure that in this current time we are maximizing our talents and bringing our best efforts forward to ensure that we are meeting the needs of students by ensuring that adults are thriving in the spaces that are currently our reality. I thought it really important to frame this session with an image, and found this image of kids smiling and engaged and in classes. And in the Human Resources Department in a school district at a district level, very rarely do you see kids. And so every opportunity that we get to remind ourselves about the importance of the work that we do with the adults that touch the lives of kids is an opportunity that I think we should take. And found this quote from Rita Pearson, and it says, "Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can truly be." And so when you think about the role of the Human Resources Department, our charge is to ensure that we create systems and processes and spaces that promote thriving adults, truly believing that thriving adults then influence students to flourish. And so this is an image that we want to keep front and center as we do our work in the Human Resources Department. I think one of the reasons that I fell in love with Human Resources is because it really gave us the opportunity to partner with the employee from the beginning to the end. And so when we think about the employee life cycle, we get to be strategic partners with employees throughout their tenure with us. And the goal is to ensure that they have a thriving experience with us as a school district, from the recruitment stage, being strategic partners, through the hiring and onboarding stage, what it is that we do to ensure that as they are joining us, we are preparing them to be successful. The retention and engagement phase, what does that look like with professional development and all of the pieces that they will interact with while they are working with us. And then when the time comes that they exit for many reasons, how do we utilize that data to best inform us so that we are continuously improving and working to strive an environment where adults are thriving and, again, ultimately impacting students to flourish and be well and thrive. When we think about competition, sometimes truly it's just based on the size and the makeup of the pool. And we're going to review the national trends of the teacher pipeline in a little bit. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you're aware of this, those numbers are concerning and they are dwindling. And the data that we will show, it's data that we retrieved from the Department of Education. It's their most recent data. That being said, it's probably about 2 years old. But what you're going to see is that the number of students enrolling in teacher education programs coupled with the number of students completing teacher education programs, are on the decline. And so in light of the fact that that is our reality, how do we respond to that in a very progressive and innovative and creative way? And so our commitment to investing in a grow your own framework will put us ahead of the game, as opposed to just relying on a relatively small pool, but looking to be very strategic about investing in opportunities that will really be our central strategy. So, for me, long-term goal is that Lake Washington School District is viewed as a premier employer of choice in education in the state of Washington. And so what that means is that we're going to have to be highly skilled and effective in getting people to want to come to us. And then we will have to be innovative and responsive in ensuring that spaces are created and sustained that promote employees to thrive, and ultimately people want to stay with us. And that's a tall order, but it's certainly one that I am convinced with the team that we have and the initiatives and partnerships that we are formulating, we will certainly be able to meet those goals. So what you're looking at is data that was shared at a national convention last year and was retrieved from the Department of Education. And it's just a snapshot of some of the states and where they are in terms of enrollment in teacher education programs and program completers. And I can tell you, when I saw this the first time, I was surprised. I was not aware that the completion rate was as low as it is in some areas. And so recognizing that the pool then is dwindling, it means that the market becomes a lot more competitive. And we have a value and goals around diversifying our workforce, having an appreciation for a diverse workforce being beneficial for all. For students of color, for white students, for staff. And so with a relatively smaller pool, we realize that there's a lot of work and efforts that need to be put in place to ensure that not only do we attract a diverse staff, but we work with universities and encourage development around areas of social justice and equity from that lens as well. The reality is there's probably anywhere between 10 and 15% of a small population or a smaller pool of educators, and 10 to 15% are educators of color. And so when you think about it, that is not a very robust number of educators of color. Many districts are, embracing the concept of diversifying a workforce. And so you have many districts who are vying for a very small pool. And so the competition is going to be extreme, which further makes it important for us to be very solid in our employee life cycle, in the efforts that we are going to put together to make Lake Washington an employer of choice. And so we will have to be competitive in who we are so that people can want to be with us. Nationwide, when asked about some of the reasons why the teacher education pool was dwindling, and these aren't necessarily reasons aligned specifically to Washington, but I think this information is good to know for many reasons. Some of the reasons that were cited were teacher salaries being low. They were cited that it wasn't uncommon in some areas for teachers to have second jobs. And for the first time between 2010 and 2018, when parents were surveyed, they were not recommending that their children become teachers. And so you realize that, culturally, there's been a shift in value as it pertains to, what our communities are thinking about teachers. And so we really have to, be creative in responding to that, to be able to challenge that from, this side. So we are all in agreement that, having a diverse workforce is just a phenomenal approach. There's often throughout these board meetings and in cabinet and at the CLT and DLT level, conversations around the benefit and the beauty of a diverse workforce. And we've already heard that also from our students and from our families of color. And not only does it matter for our students of color, but it matters for our adults and, our adults who are white and our adults of color. And so what that also does is it provides a very robust environment for dialogue, for thinking, and for developing systems that will be beneficial to all. And so being intentional to look with a critical eye at our effectiveness in this area is truly going to be key to our successes with students and creating a workforce that will meet the needs of our times. And so wanted to give you an opportunity to have just a snapshot. This is data from 2021. And so what we wanted to do was to showcase our students, our certified staff, our classified staff, and our administrators, and wanted to start with our highest percentages, moving down to our lower percentages. And so if you look straight across, we have 44% of our students that identify as white. Our certified staff, we have 86.6%. Our classified staff, 74.5%, and then our administrators, 83.2%. And so if you look at the percentage of students, which is 44, we have a considerably higher rate of certified and classified and administrators who identify as white. And so as we continue to look at our numbers, that is not a trend that continues to show up. And so if we, have committed and we have values around diversifying our workforce, this is certainly an area that gives us a good snapshot as to where the opportunities and work for us to do lies. Our Asian students, 34.8%, our Asian certified staff, 6%, classified staff 14.4%, and administrators 8.7%. Obviously a disparity there in terms of the percentages of students in comparison to staff. Hispanic and Latino students 10.6%, certified staff 3.7%, classified staff 6.4%, and administrators 2.5%. Two or more races, 8.1%. Certified staff, we have 2.3%. Classified staff, 2%, and administrators, 0.6%. Again, nowhere in comparison to the percentage with regards to our white certified and classified and administrative staff. And then Black African American, 2.1%. Certified staff, 0.9%. Classified staff, 2.1%, and administrators, 4.35%. So a higher percentage rating in administrators. Interestingly enough, very similar in terms of percentage with classified staff, but much smaller with regards to certified staff and American Indian and Alaskan, 0.2% students, 0.4% certified staff, 0.4% classified staff, and 0.6% administrators. And so this is just a snapshot of where we are for the 2021 school year with students in comparison to certified, classified, and administrators by racial demographic breakout. And this here is our new hire data. And so just wanted you to see how many new hires we made in the 2018-2019 school year and the 2019-2020 school year, and then the new hire racial diversity breakout by school year. we wanted to give you a breakdown based upon the application process. And so in 2018, 2019, we had 6,042 applicants, of which 2,051 were applicants of color, of which we hired 143, which gave us a percentage of 2.4. The same year, we had 6,000, of that 6,042 total applicants, we had 3,991 who were white. 461 of them were hired at a percentage rate of 7.6. And then if you look at the last school year, 2019 to 2020, 7,920 total applicants, of which 2,750 of them were applicants of color, of which we hired 184, giving us a percentage of 2.3. And that same year, of that 7,920 total applicants, 5,170 of them were white applicants, of which 496 of them were hired at a percentage rate of 6.3. And so that gives you an idea of the number of people who applied for jobs with us, how they were broken out racially, and how they were hired in terms of specific numbers throughout those years. And they say a picture, is worth 1,000 words. And so just wanted to give you some bar charts and what is our data showing us. And so in the 2018, 2019 years, we've got on the left with in red, we've got administrators and certified staff on the right. And you can see that administrators in 2018 and 19, there were 128 white administrators compared to 16 administrators of color. In 2019, 2020, there were 135 white administrators in comparison to 19 administrators of color. And then in 2020, 2021, at this point, we have 134 with 27 administrators of color. And obviously, the good news is that there is an increase over each year. And so that is certainly to be celebrated. For certificated staff, 2018, 2019, we had 1,830 white certificated staff compared to 223 certificated staff of color. In 2019, 2020, 1,880 white certificated staff in comparison to 265 certificated staff of color. And so far for this year, we have 1,876 certificated staff who identify as white, with 290 certificated staff that identify as employees of color. I'd like to invite Camille to take us forward and share with you our initiatives as it relates to our path moving forward.
Good evening. My name is Camille. And you're in an echo. Are you able to hear?
Yeah, and so are we. Oh, try it now.
Okay, great. I don't want to annoy you. Okay, so we basically saw the data in terms of staffing and our current demographics. And so we're at the point in the PowerPoint where it's like, so what, now what? And so when I think about our path forward, the COVID pandemic and the current socio-political climate have demonstrated just how interconnected our lives are. And so with Dr. Holman as a new leader for the district and Dr. Ross as the new department leader, we were at a unique opportunity where we got a chance to really take a data-driven deep dive into our department and thinking about how do we truly be that heartbeat for LWSD. So we embarked during this first 90 days of the semester, we embarked on some process mapping exercises, process improvement analysis, and then really solicited feedback from every single HR staff member in order to reimagine HR and how we serve the district. For us, it was not simply enough to just do the same old, and so in the next couple of slides, I'm going to share some brief details about the different strategic initiatives that we have developed thus far. If I talk too fast, feel free to chime in and tell me to slow it down. Okay, so when we think about recruiting, I like to use the analogy of a recipe. So when I think of recruiting, you know, Dr. Ross talked about the employee life cycle earlier. Recruiting is like the grocery shopping and the prep, cutting your onions. We're getting the ingredients, but if that stove is not together, if you don't have the right pots, that meal comes out toe up, and it could be really distasteful. So we have to think about, and we are reimagining recruitment as very much interconnected and inextricably tied to retention, to bargaining, and employee relations overall. And so in order to increase our employee diversity at all levels, we really kind of carved out 4 areas that we chose to develop some strategies to mobilize that. Those 4 areas are partnerships, engagement, development, and then data. So I'm going to share a little bit more as we move forward, but I wanted to just give you a high-level example of what that ends up looking like. So on the partnership front, partnerships and engagement are really in lockstep. And so we're thinking about not only just advertising and posting our positions, places where diversity thrives, so on job boards and sites that were created and designed to place candidates of color, but also partnering with Hispanic serving institutions, historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs, and other groups or tribal colleges that really will help us to get a direct pipeline into diverse candidates, attract them, and also show them what the Lake Washington way is. In terms of development, you know, there's a perfect synergy that has to exist in terms of recruitment, and then what do you do to cultivate community in your existing workforce. And so we really want to make sure that we're able to support and partner with our other departments to make sure that they have the capacity to be able not only to attract and make themselves look good for these candidates to join us, but also to keep them so that they stay. And so in that respect, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion are very much connected and really cannot be parsed apart. Lastly, data. So you saw a glimpse of the data, and trust me when I say it's just a glimpse and a snapshot. We have extensive data because we recognize how important that is for us to set real metrics and targets, to be transparent about them, and then to really be able to evaluate and assess them on an ongoing, regular basis. So here, this slide here depicts a few of the different initiatives and examples of how we are going to take this vision to the next step. And so what you're seeing is a couple different descriptions. I've talked a little bit already about strategic partnerships and capacity building, but one of the things I really want to pull your attention to is around the new employee engagement. We know that any large organization is always going to struggle to make sure that we can maintain the small community and the cozy home feel. And in a lot of ways, Lake Washington does feel home, but we want to make sure that new employees are not just abandoned, not just welcomed into the fold and never checked in with again. And so we really are being intentional about making sure that our new employees would engage at least directly with us at least one time within their first 90 days. That way we can get a temperature check, help meet any needs, and at least keep a face to the department and to the organization. Additionally, we have embarked on a process of developing different recruitment toolkits. And what this is just a fancy way of providing resources and templates for screening and interviews and reference checks, all of the mechanical parts of getting new talent, but using an outcome-oriented strategy and lens at how we look at our talent management approach. And so for us, it was really important that we don't just leave equity as a label that's on a slide deck, that we actually mobilize it. And so we're interrogating unconscious bias as we screen candidates. We're interrogating it in terms of the question banks that we're providing, as well as making it a part of our day-to-day lexicon and culture here, that we're always thinking about inclusion and we're always willing to push forward so that we get the best candidates that we can. For the rest of the section where I'm presenting, you'll hear a little bit more about the student teacher program, and then later my colleague will share more about our alternative routes to certification. So before we go into more details about the student-teacher program, I just want to reiterate what Dr. Ross already depicted. And so this is also some data based on the OSPI report card 1617, and then a few other notes I'll be sharing that are coming from the U.S. Department of Education. And so many of you are familiar with the fact that nationally we have experienced a teacher shortage, and it's less about people not going to college, is that people are not electing to become teachers. And so currently approximately around 81% of our workforce nationally is white. And for the most part, our teacher workforce is largely white and female. And we know that our teacher workforce is less diverse than the overall U.S. labor workforce, as well as less diverse than our student demographics, especially for a metropolitan area. You know, that is something that we can't sit by and ignore. So what this data tells us is that there's a dearth of racial and gender diversity in the teacher workforce. Furthermore, it makes it incumbent upon us to utilize a national recruitment strategy to increase diversity, because what you're seeing on the right side of the slide and also at the top is that teacher location tends to be hyperlocal, but we know that we're already dealing with a very, very small pool of diverse candidates here in the state and regionally, for that matter, in the Pacific Northwest. And so it's important that we also use a national strategy to recruit teachers across the country that otherwise might not have known about the district. This slide is providing yet another example, and this is if you think about a funnel going a little bit more narrow and nuanced into Washington as a state in terms of teacher preparation. So when we think about teacher workforce trends, and this is all based on data that was collected and disseminated publicly December of last year, 2019, by the U.S. Department of Education and the Center for American Progress. So always that data tends to be 2 school years behind. So similar to the data Dr. Ross shared, we're talking about academic year ending in 2018. What is known is that since 2010, total enrollment nationwide in teacher preparation programs has declined by more than 1/3. This decline has occurred in the context, as I mentioned earlier, of increasing enrollment in bachelor programs. And so, again, illustrating that there's a loss also in desire to become a teacher. And although this is salient, you get more nuance and more relevant data when you're looking at the state level. So the national figures really tell a limited story. Teacher labor markets are hyperlocal. And so when we look at Washington as a state, on the bright side, we do have a state who early on, and maybe about 10 years now, really embarked on thinking about a continuum when we talk about the teacher certification and teacher workforce. And so the U.S. Department of Education, the data that you're looking at, they make available Title II data, which is all about teacher preparation programs and certifications. And what you see at the top is that we have 203 individual programs for the state. Now, I want to point out that these programs are actually housed in 39 providers. And so those are different universities. And so one university could have 10 different distinct programs. If you think about special education, alternative certification programs, elementary, secondary, that's what you're seeing. That's why that number looks large. And then what the second box is depicting is that we, at the end of the academic year of 17-18, had 9,024 people enrolled in those programs, yet only 3,000 completed them. Again, really focusing and illustrating that significant disparity and attrition rate between people who enroll in teacher preparation programs and those who actually complete them. And although there continues to be significant attrition, one thing I do want to point out, and if you ever go to that website, you'll see that Washington is one of the few states where we have seen an increase, albeit very small, in enrollment and in completion for the last 3 years that data is available. And so that's what this is providing a summary of. And most programs, when you look at that map, are concentrated in the Puget Sound, which is good news for us. And so the most common sector when you think about teacher education is the public 4-year university. And it's funny because WSU is first in the nation in terms of the number of degrees that they award. Again, that's what's speaking to Washington being in the top 3 states for teacher preparation. It's all about the market share. Okay, Dr. Ross, you can move. Okay. All right, and this next slide is really looking at diversity. And so similar to our workforce, we know that our people that are enrolling in these teacher preparation programs continue to be largely female, largely white. And so here you're able to see specific to Washington that 84 of the enrollees, when we talk about that large number, were identified as Alaskan Indian or American Indian, and then you see 280 were Asian. And again, this is teacher preparation programs that are traditional as well as alternative pathways, which tend to be shorter, which tend to be people who are already in the workforce, and so in more respect tend to be more affordable and also tend to have program structures that are a little bit more conducive to a working adult. And so you also see at the far right how largely female the teacher workforce, the teacher preparation enrollees are when you look at gender. And so diversity remains a significant challenge, and it means we have to be laser focused and innovative and persistent in our efforts to attract and retain diverse teachers. So with that being said, this year, the student teacher program was transitioned from the professional learning department to human resources. And that was all as part of a larger effort to more closely align our development of future teachers with our recruitment functions. When we look at this program, we rebranded it as Pathways. And the theory of change is really that the student teacher practicum, when you look at it from a pedagogical sense, is designed to provide supported entry to the profession. And research demonstrates that the quality of the first teaching experience is inextricably tied to retention and also intention to remain in the career. And so what student teachers experience in their practicum creates their view of the profession. And it's therefore essential that at LWSD, we're giving our student teachers the most high quality placement that we can. And so this semester, we're hosting already close to 70 student teachers, and that's just representing August to this point right now. Annually, even before the program transitioned, we've hosted well over 100. So we tend to hover around the average of 140. We're partnered with over 30 universities, and those are regional as well as national. And then in terms of engagement, that was the piece that we felt we could really sell the dream and give the robust experience that our student teachers really deserve. And so that includes events around networking, which are able to cultivate community with our student teachers. We also are developing and have developed and shared some resources around resume and interview and just other career planning assistance, because at the end of the day, we really want these individuals to not only hone those skills on the instructional sense, but also hone them in terms of the professional sense. And so a few examples are those workshops, the networking events, and then some cafes that really help them share their experiences and also learn how to lean in on each other and problem solve. And that's it, Dr. Ross.
You are up. Sam, are you on?
Oh, after all these months, I kept myself muted. Shame on me. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Yuhan, Director of Human Resources, and it's a privilege to share with you one of our initiatives that we're working on here, and I just appreciate the chance to be a part of this exciting and dynamic team under Dr. Ross's leadership, and just all the work in the district under Dr. Holman's leadership. It's a really exciting time in spite of some of these challenges that we're facing. So just to outline what Camille had spoken about as one of our initiatives of alternate routes to teacher certification, just to briefly define what it is. It's really designed for career changers or those who are working in our school system who are seeking to earn a teacher certificate. So as opposed to our traditional programs where we have our student teachers coming from, they tend to be shorter, more convenient, more flexible, and more practically oriented, especially with the work that's already going on in the school building. So it's geared more towards our paraeducators and instructional assistants who are supporting classrooms to provide them chances to have a student teacher experience within the work that they're doing. So there are 4 alternative routes. They're listed here for you. We do offer all of these with in conjunction with the universities. The vast majority of our alternate route employees are in Route 2, district staff already working with us in the classroom who have a bachelor's degree. Many of these employees that we currently have in alternate routes have international degrees from universities. Some are quite impressive. I think one has a master's degree in chemical engineering, which blows my mind. We also have the opportunity for career changers who have a bachelor's degree and some district staff who have a limited certificate, such as an emergency sub-certificate, an intern sub-certificate, or a conditional teaching certificate. This is really an opportunity. As you saw in some previous slides, we have about 25% of our classified staff are employees of color. We currently have over 1,000 employees listed as support staff working in our schools, 255 of them being employees of color. So there is this unique opportunity to grow our own in terms of this teacher pipeline. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, if I could just share how this is near and dear to my heart, just that opportunity as our traditional teacher programs, we've seen the numbers about, what percentage of those participants are white. And, when we talk about the structure of the teacher certification programs and the inherent challenges, when we talk about college graduates, if you told me 20 years ago when I finished my master's program and I had to, and I was considering going into teaching, and I would have to pay tuition and not be working and not have a salary, it was a tough choice. I had a degree in biology and there were some choices. I was considering pharmacy school, but I actually was offered an opportunity in an alternate program in Los Angeles City Schools to work while I earned my certificate. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would have ended up. So I appreciate these opportunities that these programs provide, and we want to provide that for our classified staff. So just a quick snapshot as to what we did. When I came on board to this district last year, the research was done around these programs. And so we were launching it last school year, and we had our first information session at Redmond High School. It was late February. We were excited. We had this overwhelming response from 75 classified staff members showed up to learn that first session from City University, and Dr. Steve Brown presented. So some of the context, though, very shortly after, before we could have other universities prevent, COVID-19 closed our schools. So to the benefit of City University, they were the only ones who had a chance to present because our SPU and Northwest plans were scrapped at that time. But just to give some context as to what it looked like before, prior to last year, and even up to last year, student teachers who were pursuing alternate routes, they would have to do the research on their own, connect with universities on their own, and work with them to have a student teacher placement. So 2019-20 student teachers who are classified employees, we had 4 through City University. This year, those who enrolled, after our initial information session, we currently have 16 employees who are enrolled in the City University Alternate Routes program. My apologies about the math, because originally it was 6 employees out of the 16. It's actually 7 employees of color out of the 16. That represents 44%. So especially when we compare to the percentages of participants in the traditional programs, that is a number that we would love to grow and encourage more of our current classified employees. So the plans for this year, in terms of the universities that offer robust alternate routes programs, again, we want to partner with City University. Seattle Pacific University has a program. Northwest University, right within our boundaries, does. The University of Washington has a Master's in Education and Special Education program that we want to partner with as well. But we want to continue to grow this and offer virtual information sessions with all these programs to increase these numbers moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Pat, you're up.
Good evening. I'm Pat Fowler-Fung. I work with Dr. Ross and Camille and Sam. And what I'd like to talk about is our bargaining. Bargaining, as they've said before, is a critical part in retention of employees. And the bulk of our employees are participants in a bargaining group. We have, from our secretaries to our custodians to our bus drivers, our trades, as well as our IAs and paraeducators and our teachers. Bargaining is perceived as a cyclical event that occurs every so many years, and that's kind of a misnomer. Bargaining is an ongoing process where we're continually working with our partners in education, our bargaining unit groups. We're talking to them on a weekly basis for the teachers, on a monthly basis with our classified staff, to continue to probe and develop a partnership and a relationship to help provide our staff with that thriving environment that they want to remain in, that they want to be retained in Lake Washington. And when we bargain the official contracts, we participate in what we call an interest-based bargaining. Interest-based bargaining is the development of a relationship that surfaces interests and understanding each other's perspectives and what each party needs to be successful and to address issues before they become problems. And Lake Washington, I'm happy to say, has participated in this with all of our bargaining groups. We have good relationships with them. We want to hear what they have to say. And again, it goes to the proposals or the concepts that come forward are equity-based. We examine that. We lead with equity. And we believe that that's the right way to retain our staff. If they believe in that we're committed to them and developing and hearing them and listening to them. And we do this on an ongoing basis to maintain that relationship. This, we believe, develops staff who want to provide a world-class education for students that are not just educationally based, it's socially based, and it's also for the well-being of the total student and our staff. And I think that's what I was going to say tonight.
Thank you, Pat.
Sure.
When we think about what you've heard in terms of the various pieces, the key to a healthy organizational culture is the commitment to intentionally live into your values and engage staff with a continuous improvement cadence. And we've talked about that throughout this presentation this evening. The HR department is intentionally positioning itself to both internal and external stakeholders and partners as being a strategic partner. Recognizing that when we partner, we leverage our combined efforts and ultimately enhance the life cycle of our employees while we continue to be innovative in our approaches. And so some of the ways that in which that is operationalized, we've started an HR cafe. We've started that intentionally for our administrators, being very cognizant that in this time of COVID, everybody is experiencing COVID, and administrators are requested, in need of leading while they're experiencing COVID. And so just recognizing then that from a space of well-being, administrators needed to have community. And so that was how and why that space was created, really looking to build some skill-based professional development opportunities. I think the most clear example was the professional toolkit that Camille referenced, but ensuring that we are building capacity of our leaders, both at the building level and district level, to be able to be skilled and lead the adults in their building. And then very intentional in terms of partnerships with the Department of Opportunity, Equity, and Inclusion, as we focus on developing very strategic recruitment and retention priorities. And so when you think about diversity, I like to think that we really exemplify that in terms of our experiences, our life experiences, our education, the industries that we come from, our perspectives, gender, race. This is us. This is who is representing HR in the Lake Washington School District. And I am telling you, I could not be more pleased to work with a group of people who are passionate about the work that they do, recognizing that everything that we do has a direct impact on the health and well-being of students, but we focus that on adults. And so you heard this evening from Camille and Sam and Pat. Jared is unable to be with us, but Bill is here. And so Bill, if you would turn your camera on, and at least folks will be able to see you. We are your HR team. And we thank you for the time that we've been able to spend with you tonight.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting and helpful presentation. I see at least one hand. So I guess we'll take board member questions. Director Stewart, I saw your hand go up first.
Thank you. I heard a lot of kind of process that we're looking at, but I'm not seeing a lot of how each of the processes kind of fit in. One of the questions I'm curious about, how much of an impediment is Washington State's requirement that they only take certification from Washington State and Michigan, and how much does that hamper us in other states where we might be able to attract more diverse workforce?
Sam, do you have a response? Otherwise, I can certainly share from here.
I could offer something, and I don't want to pass the buck here, but Bill Rosen might be better at the certification question than I am. I'm not aware of the Michigan-Washington aspect of that.
Well, I can tell you that we have lots of folks who come from other states, and Washington has a very accommodating reciprocity with lots of states. And when people call me, I help them out. I get a lot of calls from prospective teachers and principals saying, how do you navigate OSPI? It's a brand new system, and I help them out. I've been doing it for over 4 years now, and I'm not a substation of OSPI, but I can help people work through the system.
Director Carlson, I see your hands up.
Thanks. So I've got a few questions, and let me see. So the first one I want to do is more of an editorial comment. As a board member, one of the things that I'm really interested in here is looking at trends separately within certificated and classified staff. If you go back to your slide 7, we were 86% white in certificated staff, classroom teachers, and 75% white in classified staff. That makes the difference between these groups, not just in training, but in terms of their direct interface with the classroom, leading the classroom, and the children is important. And the reason I would encourage you to break out the numbers consistently by certificated staff and classified staff is that on slide 7 we had 86% white in certificated staff. On slide 9 in the applicants, it wasn't clear whether that was certificated or classified, and when I dug into it, the totals mean it must be certificated and classified were under the same hood. That makes it look better than it should for certificate and worse than it should for classified, because there you're looking at 78.6% white. And then on slide 9, when we get into the hires, the new hires, there are a couple of dimensions here. Unfortunately, the summary statistic you chose for percentages is the one I don't want. There are 2 dimensions I do care about. The first is of the teachers we hire, what fraction of them are white? So it's 76.3% of our new hires are white on slide 9 in 2018-19. The other statistic I care about, I don't care about it over the total, but I care about it if you are not white, what percentage of you get hired? So it actually looks a little bit better, and I'm not trying to make it look better. I'm just trying to make it be the number I care about, which is that it's not. Let's see, where's slide? Let me flip forward. Yeah, so slide 9, you had the percent of applicants of color hired at 2.3%. Well, 2.3% is 184 divided by 7,920, and that's the percent of hires who were. The percent of applicants who were both applicants of color and were subsequently hired. What I care about is within the applicants of color, what percent of them were hired. 184 divided by 2,750 is, shoot, got my spreadsheet open. That's 9.6%. No, 184 over 2,750 is 6.7%. That's 2/3 of the 496 out of 5,000 for the whites. Whites had a 10% chance of being hired, and non-white applicants had 2/3 of that. They had a 6.7% chance of being hired in our latest round. That is something that where I look at it, it's like, okay, this is a problem, or it's not a problem. I mean, it depends on why we have this differential. Is it because we have more non-white applicants to classified staff positions and there were fewer of those positions? That's where it matters to me to break it out to make sure it's always certificated staff or classified staff, but not both in the same numbers. But yeah, yes, that would be great. Yes, I understand, and there's a dozen different ways. So I'm trying to tell you which slice I do want, and so but this is where it got back to one of the things as I went through this, what I was trying to figure out is, okay, where are we? We're at 86% white for classroom teachers. Where are our trainees? Well, the trainees have two different numbers. On slide 14, it was 81% white in Washington State and 81% white nationally, which I was like, that's interesting. Turns out, yeah, it does seem to be the same nationally, but it doesn't agree. And then the trainees are a different number if you take the sum of the things on slide 16. When you put in your alternate routes for Washington trainees, out of the 8,586 teacher training in 2017-18, 78.6% of those are white. So the pool in our state is substantially better than the proportion we've got in the classroom right now. 78.6, you could just recruit in the state if you could get the non-white trainees and improve on our 86.6%. It's not going to move very fast, and I'd like to move it faster. So I'm behind you on a lot of what you said. It's really just the justification and the statistics that you're using to motivate it, where I want to make sure we're looking at the right statistic and focusing on that, because recruiting within Washington State for our in-the-classroom certificated staff could substantially improve our representation of minority teachers. Going outside the state should be able to improve that even further. I am 100% behind you on that. I'm just trying to make sure that we have all the right pieces in place and that it'll stand up to scrutiny if someone wanted to criticize us for why are you doing that? Well, here's why. Here's our background. Here's where we're at. Here's where we want to be. And here's the gap in terms of who's available, who's being hired, and who have we already hired and have in the classroom. Those are sort of the three steps that I really care about. So anyway, again, thank you very much. I'm a tables nerd. I really love statistics. I live, eat, and breathe this stuff, and that's why I dove into these. I apologize for going deep on your numbers, but that's what I do. So thank you again for your presentation.
Does anyone on staff have any follow-up or questions in response to Dr. Carlson?
Yeah. Well, let me turn my mic on here in the boardroom. I think one of the things is when we think about this as a strategic goal area, and when we think about this as part of operational expectation monitoring, we also want to be clear about what data helps tell the right story and what data helps monitor the organization. And so I'm really glad this is recorded, because I'm not sure I was able to actually take notes on everything Director Carlson said there, but what I know is there's nuggets there that help us to tell the story better through our use of data and statistics, as well as when we go into the OE monitoring season. This is going to be a critically important part of that, because if our strategic goals and our commitment to actually hiring a excellent and diverse workforce, that those data have to be meaningful for the board to evaluate. So that's all I have at this point. I just really appreciate the feedback around those data. Joy and I, we met in cabinet today. We, dialogued about these data and what's the right data to present to the board tonight. And so when you think about the years of ER or results monitoring, think of all of the different layers of feedback that led us to actually doing really robust monitoring of our results as well. So appreciate it.
Director Bleasner, and then Director Stewart has a follow-up question, I think.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation for both the business services as well as the human resources. That really sort of gave the broad perspective. But having that extra time on human resources, recognizing really I appreciated several of your comments, Joy, in the sense of the importance of having a vibrant, thriving staff in order to ensure a vibrant, thriving environment and for our students. So greatly appreciate that view. I think the whole angle of really working with equity and looking at these things, I appreciated the alternative pathways and recognizing these are the strengths our community brings here, and then trying to build opportunities for them to be able to access that, be it through the classified route or be it through an alternative certification because they were a doctor in their other country. And now this isn't an opportunity here necessarily, but their skill set is still valuable and can be utilized in many ways. So appreciate that way of really looking at how we build off the strengths in our community and utilize them to benefit any and all here. And the use of data, recognizing the trends and piece of things that I had always felt there was a piece missing often. When we talk about our overall numbers, that doesn't move fast because we have a lot of employees. We have a lot of teachers. You start looking at, are our practices making a difference? That's looking back in the last couple of years like you did. So I do think that was very beneficial at being able to put that forward. And go, excellent. Thank you for the energy and enthusiasm you all bring to really moving this forward. And it's sort of exciting as we look at the equity policy piece. How do we put that into this place to make sure this is a focus and angle going forward? Because this spoke to many of the things we heard through our listening sessions, really attacking some of those key things, not just around recruitment, but really around retaining and how we create a healthy environment for all our staff to be in. So that's it. I just want to say thank you.
Director Stewart and then Director Sage.
Quick question. Each spring, or for that matter, annually, how many openings do we have that we try to fill either through expansion or filling people that have retired or what have you? And where can we concentrate? Are there certain schools that have higher numbers of diverse students going into teaching within the state, or do we really need to be looking outside the state? Because I'm not the numbers nerd. I leave that to Chris. But what I'm trying to look is the how. I heard earlier that we're working with the HBCU, but how are we working with them? And because it seems like we had a lot that were interviewed that were a diverse population, but not a lot hired by comparison to the white. And so I'm just wondering, what is the key? Is it more out-of-state recruiting? Is it more trying to get folks moving up from para to teacher? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
Sam, Bill, do you have any spring data?
I could speak for a typical spring. there's a lot of data collection around growth as well as retirements and resignations to develop, especially an elementary pool. In the past years, of course, this past pool was abbreviated a little bit in terms of adjusting to COVID. So for this year, we hired 45 elementary teachers. Years past, it would hover around 60, high 50s to low 60s.
Okay.
So there are always those elementary opportunities based on that. Secondary, it is a lot more linear in terms of who have retired or resigned. But just to give some perspective, so far for this year, I think we've had about 100 and close to 170 certificated hires.
Okay. Quick question along the same lines. A lot of districts are having to lay off staff because they weren't as prodigious as Barbara and her staff of making sure we had a nice reserve fund. Are there districts that we can start rustling from, if you will? Good teachers, a diverse workforce, that perhaps even locally, for that matter. I hate to be stealing away from our neighbors, but I'm not above it. Is there some way we can start looking at the trends of what school districts are cutting and who perhaps we could raid?
John, I saw that you unmuted. Were you gonna say something?
I was just going to comment that many of our local districts have not gone through certificated reductions. When I've looked around, I believe it's been more in the classified areas.
Okay.
I know there's a number of districts where bus drivers either were furloughed or they had to do a reduction in force. I think there's some other classified type positions. Most districts call all of their classified employees that work in their school settings, either with special education or general education, paraeducators. We classify them as both paraeducators and instructional assistants. I've seen a few reductions in those areas as well, not as much in the certificated area at this point.
Okay. Thanks for correcting that misperception of mine. But back to the how we're looking. Do we have select universities that we know that have higher diverse populations of students coming out and graduating that we could be concentrating on? Are there, I know you mentioned about the HBCU. What kind of a relationship are we developing, or what do we have in place that can increase that number? And are we using our current teachers of color to help recruit from their alma maters?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of that. I think about the fact that Camille and I are sitting on this call tonight, and we are women of color, women who identify as Black, and we came from clear across the nation. And so one of the things that we are looking at doing is engaging with a national search agent as well. As you begin to diversify your workforce, you start to have networks that are outside of what has typically been. And so I can tell you that I have reached back to some of my colleagues, some of whom are white and some of whom identify as people of color, and I've started to plant the Lake Washington seed. And so to your point, I am also not above robbing, but I know that for us to get people, we have to be able to sustain people. And so it's really about retention efforts, much more so than just recruitment. And so ensuring that we ready the playing field, that, our buildings, our departments are ready to have a very diverse and inclusive workforce is the opportunity that we get to invest in now through the efforts that, we shared tonight. But as you increase the diversity in your staff, you have greater opportunities to have a diverse staff. So all of those things and more.
And I just want to add one piece to that as well.
Go Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, and this is in listening to our community, we're using the term teacher. I think we're using that broadly, really for all certificated staff members, because we know our certificated staff play so many different roles in the lives of students. We've heard a great deal about the role a counselor plays in a student's life, and diversifying really all of our position provides a layer of support and connection with our students, which is really, really critical. And so we've been using the term teacher. We're really talking about all of our certificated positions within the system.
Well, in the linkage that we had, one of the questions that came up, or one of the concerns from a couple of the teachers about the lack of diversity in their own departments or their schools. And I wondered how, if perhaps one of the ways to retain them would be to try and co-opt them into helping with going to their alma maters and saying, okay, let's look and see how we can, if Professor so-and-so is your mentor, can you go in and start working him or her to help us get a more diverse workforce? I don't know. I think that if we kind of engage those staffers that are already here, it would demonstrate not only our commitment to them, to increasing the workforce, but also demonstrate our desire to make them a part of the system and be more, willing to stick around. Just a thought.
Thank you. Yes.
Director Sage, thank you for waiting your turn.
Sure. Thank you for the report. Very rich in detail with a lot going on that I didn't know about. So very exciting stuff. As far as students and creating that pipeline opportunity to teaching, it occurs to me we have so many languages spoken here that it's also an opportunity for bilingual, educators to grow bilingual educators. And also with UW Bothell being so close, I know that 2 years ago, hopefully they still do, offered a program where you could get your degree in education, but also your special education certification. So just want to make sure that we touch base with them because I realize we need all sorts of teachers certified in different areas and subjects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board member questions? Okay, thank you all for the wonderful presentation. It's the agenda item for tonight was a staffing update, and I think it's really telling that the focus of that update was on diversity efforts. And I think the job of the board is to represent what our community values and make sure that that is what the district is focusing on. And we've heard repeatedly from the community, and particularly from our students during these linkages, that a more diverse workforce is a priority and it matters for our students. And it does have an impact on performance, on student mental health. And so this is really important. And it's really heartening to see just the amount of great work and how thoughtful everyone is and receptive to trying new things and monitoring and trying to do the right thing for our students. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for the presentation. That was really, really neat.
And before Dr. Ross turns her camera off, I also just want to recognize a few things here. Number one, the board actually dedicated budget to be able to hire an assistant superintendent of human resources. And so we also have to recognize that through the processes that the board support here in the district allowed for us to actually hire someone laser-like focused on that department. And I know we had this conversation around the role. I previously supported human resources, and what I articulated was there is so much greatness that can come from someone being able to dedicate focus and support for that department. I loved working with that team, and I think you're seeing here what Dr. Ross and her team have really been able to do with Joy's leadership, partnering with the other administrators in human resources is really leading to that ethic and human resources efforts for our whole system that we really have been thinking about. And so just want to commend Joy and the team for all of their work and thought and ingenuity and innovation as they think about how to support the organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you, team.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is superintendent report. And before we get to that, for board members, following that is an opportunity for board members to give board comment. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of more linkages, and I think this would be a good opportunity for board members to share some of the learnings from that. So I just want to give everyone a few minutes to gather their thoughts as they also listen to Dr. Holman.
I was going to say, as they just focus on my presentation. And tonight my presentation isn't extremely long, but I think it's very timely given the conversation that we had tonight. There may be a point where I ask Associate Superintendent Matt Gillingham to also join me, because my topic tonight is really a professional learning plan related to equity. And I want to, again, commend our teams, both in equity, opportunity, and inclusion, and in professional learning for partnering, developing resource materials, communication materials to the organization to really outline the professional learning efforts that we'll be engaged with during this year. And so I just want to provide the board with a couple presentation slides here and talk about our equity professional learning plan. And so really when we think about the professional learning plan related to equity, it's really for three purposes. One, when you think about our objective to remove predictability of success and failure that currently correlates with race and other social factors, that really is what this professional learning is about. It's to further our ability to support our students, because their race or any other social cultural factors shouldn't be the predictor of outcomes for them. It's really to interrupt inequality, inequitable practices. It's to examine biases and to create inclusive school environments for all of our students. When you've heard me talk about it, I talk about safe, inclusive, welcoming school environments where students don't have to change or leave something at the door to be able to show up in our classrooms. And that's really where our students are going to thrive, because that's when we're going to see their assets in our classrooms and in our schools and be able to build upon them. And that really is that last item there. It's about discovering and cultivating the unique gifts and talents and interests of every human, and specifically our students. And so that's what the goal of our professional learning plan is. And really the theory of action is that if we engage in equity work systemically and meaningfully, then our students, staff, and communities will benefit, because Lake Washington staff and administrators will be engaged in a way that will inform how we do our work, elevating our common purpose and practices. And so when we think about this, we have wonderfully talented students coming to us. It's not about fixing them. It's about developing a system that supports each and every child that comes to us so that they can thrive, they can benefit, and they can achieve the success that we know they can. And so this is just one of a number of visuals that Gloria and her team, working with Emily Young and her team, have developed to really communicate to our organization around our equity professional learning plan. And so when you think about, and this is really focused on our administrative group, our building equity teams, and then our district executive leadership team and cabinet. And so you can see here that first column, or row, excuse me, focusing on the courageous conversations. I know that the board was signed up to participate in that last year. They are shifting their focus to be able to provide this in a virtual experience. The team has really developed a pathway to make sure that anyone administratively that didn't participate last year has a pathway to participate, so that we're all tracking and following through with the professional learning we want to make sure that each person is participating in. The virtual LEADS seminar, and if I was better prepared, I would tell you what LEADS stands for, but that really is providing the type of training for our leadership teams as they go through this work of creating more equitable systems in schools for our students. We also want to focus on our building equity teams, our site equity teams, to make sure that they have the ongoing training and support as they continue to do that work within their buildings. You can see here there's multiple sessions throughout the year that they participate in, and then you can see that cabinet members will participate in an executive level leadership, professional learning focused on this work as well with PEG. And so when you think about what are we trying to accomplish, it's really about equity literacy throughout the organization, both with our LEADS training for our building site equity teams, and really through that Beyond Diversity trainings to be able to truly implement a system that all students can benefit from and have access to. And so with that, I will offer for Associate Superintendent Matt Gillingham to join me here if he has any additional comments that he would like to make about the professional learning plan.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, I'll just add, I think one of the key things that we're trying to achieve this year is to ensure that our entire district leadership team has a common language, a common framework, and is kind of starting from a common ground around our equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts. We've hired a lot of administrators over the past couple of years, and so really trying to make sure that this entire leadership team is we're all operating on the same page and able to engage in conversations and to be able to help lead those conversations. And so we've built out our equity, opportunity, inclusion department to be able to provide greater support for the building equity teams, and that's critical for us to be able to help ensure that we're engaging in conversations around race and equity at each of our school sites, and that our leaders there, which is really the entire leadership team there, is able to engage authentically with parents and with students and their staff around racial equity at their school sites. So feeling pretty good that we've got a robust plan that's going to get us, some common ground this year. We had planned to be further ahead. COVID disrupted that, and so we've been working with Pacific Education Group to come up with a virtual way to be able to achieve that aim.
Thank you, Matt. I know one of the questions the board would have is, well, what about training for our teachers? And that is one of the things that we have a required, which is wonderful, 8 hours of dedicated LEAP time throughout the year. And so, Matt, I don't know if you want to speak to that specifically right now, or if we want to provide an update to the board at a later time.
Yeah, I think I can speak briefly to it right now, and then we can provide a further follow-up. So we have explicitly done about 3 hours of training explicitly on equity. We did 2 hours in our August LEAP, and then we did another hour with all of our certificated staff in October. That was an asynchronous training that staff did as part of the October LEAP Day. And so we have an additional 5 or 6 hours that we're going to be putting onto our LEAP calendar. The professional learning department and the equity, opportunity, inclusion department are working on those models right now. We intentionally didn't schedule our entire year out because we weren't sure exactly what to be expecting. And so we'll be going into our strategic advisory leadership team, I believe, at the end of next week with those plans and to work with that group to identify when the rest of that training is going to be taking place. So we should, after that meeting, be able to provide the board with an update as to kind of when to expect the rest of that training for our staff. And then, just broadly, then, we're, equity is not just something we do in isolation as in a silo. And so, the professional learning that our directors are developing for, for the rest of our staff is, very much inclusive and centered on racial equity as well.
Thank you, Matt. And that concludes the presentation, and we'd be happy to take any questions that board members have.
I saw Director Stewart's hand first, and then Director Poliesner. Mark, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to Siri first.
Sorry, I was mumbling.
Matt, you talked. Beg pardon? Okay.
Go ahead.
Matt, you talked about the hours that we are offering diversity training on leap days and so forth. What is that percentage? How does that break out percentage-wise? Is 5 hours 50% or 10%? I just don't know. So I'm not trying to stick the hornet's nest. I'm just trying to figure out how exactly that fits, because I know that some of the teachers had expressed concerns about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the percentages, Director Stewart. So we have the equivalent of a full day of training that needs to be, and we want to dedicate towards focusing on equity and racial equity. I don't know what that breaks out in terms of a percentage. And, one of the things that one of our kind of our challenges, and it's a bit of both, ensuring that in practice as well as the connection that, equity, as I just mentioned, we don't want that to exist in a silo. And so, for example, we've had as part of our, the Leap Week training that we have with all of our certificated staff, we talked about, best practices for engaging students pedagogically in a virtual environment. Well, student engagement is a key part of equity, and we can see that now in terms of some of our data around attendance and time online, for example. And so there, are equity adjacent or equity components in everything that we do, and the extent to which we call those out or highlight that, or that's really transparent, is kind of an ongoing challenge. And then, we specifically have trainings that are focused on racial equity. And so Gloria Henderson and her team led on the August Leap Week. They led a morning session. We had another one in October. And so what I'm calling out there is specifically ones that are really exclusively, specific to racial equity. As a standalone versus other trainings that are incorporated racial equity.
Mike, did you want to speak to that
Matt,
as well?
do you think at some future point? Do you think at some future point we could get those percentages?
Yes, we can follow up with that, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, sorry, I was talking aloud. I can give them to you right now too, and then we can follow up. We have 22 and a half hours of full day LEAP time. We use, remember, 7.5 of that though to get teachers ready for remote learning. So the balance is what we have with our remaining LEAP days. And then we have 18 hours of available time on Wednesday LEAPs. And that's usually a combination of district and school level professional learning. And so we're always trying to balance that. So for example, a building equity team may develop some local professional learning that would be embedded in that 18 hours as well. So typically we try to kind of divvy up those hours to say buildings have some work that they're driving, and then we have some work we're driving. So altogether, it looks like about 40 and a half hours that are available. And then, as I mentioned, some of those have already been spoken for just to get us back to school.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, the only reason I asked again is that was a real sticking point with the teachers that we had at the linkages. That it was just such a small percentage in their mind of the education.
Director Bleasner, then Director Sage.
So thank you. So appreciate the whole comprehensive piece of looking how this is going to go across in this time frame. And I might have missed it, but I know we've talked about where was the board as part of this and as part of a key role in which we play, are being also very much engaged and doing some of the similar processes going to be vitally important. And I didn't see it in that plan. So if it's not there, I'd like to ensure it gets there. And if it is there, could you point it out to me?
So I didn't include it in this slide deck because Matt is doing some outreach to PEG. Diane was looking at calendars. So before we sprung it on you in the middle of a meeting as to what we were thinking, we wanted to have some dates that you had ahead of time, and then we can actually provide an update at a future board meeting around what that training timeline and things actually looks like. But Matt, Gloria, they've been engaged with PEG around the board's professional development as well, and we have some ideas around when that can occur here in the next couple of months, actually.
Great. It's just such a key role that we work all those levels and they'll be able to do it so that we can all be on the same page as things go through. So I think that's vitally important to have through.
Matt, do you want to comment any further on that?
Yeah, I think so. Last year, and I don't know off the tip of my tongue which, if any board members participated in Beyond Diversity 1, and so that's. This year, that's being replaced with Courageous Conversations, the virtual experience. And so that is something that's available for board members to engage in individually as kind of a primer. And then we're working with PEG where we will, and we're going to try to, as Dr. Holman said, we were going to try to connect it with time that the board has already identified to work around doing a retreat and connecting with an executive leadership coach for the board through PEG. So we're looking to try to see if we can find a time that's adjacent to time that the board's already identified to work together, so that it's we're not trying to carve out something new, but that we can center this learning in that time. And I'm just waiting to hear back from PEG. I know Diana and Daniel Warman have been working together to try to confirm that. So,
thank you. Looking forward to learning more.
Director Sage.
Thank you. I also agree that sooner would be better than later as far as professional development for the board in this area, and any opportunities you have right now that we might just jump on as even just a little, okay, here we have a 2-hour block here, let's grab this. I would love it if all board directors could have that information and sign up as they are able before we even start our organized professional development. Also wanted to mention that as we're moving through all of this, and as we're being intentional on shaping our equity policy, the things that we heard in our linkages, really do come back to relationships that teachers build with students, relationships that students can have, with another adult at school that is not necessarily their teacher, supports that they can get, and just want to be mindful that it's very difficult in the remote setting to provide some of these relationship builders, but I'm hoping that we're looking at how to additionally support students with a lot of what we heard in those linkage sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different layers to actually respond to just that single comment. When I think about the instructional framework that our teachers are evaluated on, one of the 4 domains that then is, our domains are broken up into state criteria. There's 8 of them, but Danielson wrote a framework that has 4 domains. One of them is focusing on the climate and culture of the classroom. The framework, the leadership framework that our principals are evaluated on. The first criterion is about school culture. And so I think it's also ensuring that as we go through these processes, that we're also taking advantage of those conversations and those opportunities to layer in what we know about equitable practices for including students in our schools, including families in our schools around culture as well. When I think about the work that Johnny Fu is doing from social emotional learning and mental health supports, it's about culture, well-being, supporting inclusive practices. And so I completely agree that is, criteria number 1 for a student even being able to participate in class is they feel welcome, they feel safe, and they feel included. And so, great comment.
Thank you. I would also add that if you have me take a training on anything, especially if it's technology related, you're going to need to come back to me in a few days and check for understanding. Because if I'm not using it every day, I have forgotten it. It's just out of my mind. So how do we check for understanding, not just with staff, but also just, board directors keeping us on the same page and up to date and up to speed with each other? I feel like maybe that's a piece that we're missing, is that check for understanding and to see if you're actually utilizing the skills that you have learned.
I think, why don't we do follow-up on that? I just want to make sure that I'm giving you accurate information. I think at a high level, there are layers of accountability. So when we did training of all of our certificated staff on SIOP, one of the requirements of our principals is, as they are doing their walkthroughs, they actually understand SIOP so that they can see, are those practices actually being implemented within the classroom. It's about writing goals as a school around those strategies. And so those are some of the different ways that accountability and checks for understanding, it's like, is it actually playing out in the classroom the way it should? But let me check in with the team around some of the other ways that we're maintaining accountability for some of these efforts, unless someone wants to jump on and provide a comment.
I'll just say that I challenge you to challenge me to check for my understanding as we go through this.
Great.
I'm going to hold you to that.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Any other board member questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hallman. The next item on our agenda tonight is board member comments. We've had a number of linkage sessions over the last couple of weeks. Does anyone want to report out any of your learnings or things that popped out to you from those linkages? Chris, you unmuted first.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to admit, the first round I came out of it feeling very pessimistic that we have clearly got some problems. And it's not that the second round that we spoke to convinced me that we don't have problems. It gave me hope that we have a society that can help solve them. From the Natural Leaders program that we spoke to, was a phenomenally supportive program at, I'm blanking on, John, can you help me, which elementary is it at?
Rose Hill.
Thank you. That gave me hope that there is a community that can pull together self-supporting. In that case, it was many immigrants from many nations, from many backgrounds. But it was also, the other group we spoke to was the PTA leadership. And that gave me hope that it's not just a do-it-yourself for our non-white students and parents and staff, that there is a substantial group of white people who want to help and want to be part of the solution. There wasn't a denial of that we have challenges that we need to address, but there certainly was enthusiasm for addressing those challenges. And that was a very reassuring thing to me. I don't feel like it made me less worried. I know we have very significant issues we need to address, but I feel much more hopeful that they are addressable this week.
Director Stewart?
Yes. Sorry, computer trouble. One of the discussions that I was involved with, one of the linkages, which really, I'm concerned about all of them. The one that really stuck out from students was the gay student union group from, and I may have got the name wrong, I apologize, from Juanita, and how they aren't able to, the only way they're getting help, whether it's emotionally or with how to deal with the rest of school, is not really through the counseling staff, but through other gay or lesbian teachers. And it just seems to me that we're missing something. If our counseling staffs can't help those kids, then we're going to lose those kids. I'm so glad they have the sponsors for their group, for their club, that they can go to. But if our counselors are only going to be able to help them with trying to find a college, we're missing something. And maybe they're expecting more than can be given. I don't know, but it didn't sound like it.
Director Bleasner?
So I first just want to thank our community for coming forward and being part of these linkage sessions and taking the time out to hold this. And hopefully it is more a start of a continual practice that the board brings forward that we do on a much more regular basis in being able to, because it's clear it does help to inform and gets us thinking. And these are important things that we as a board have that opportunity to share and be able to understand the whole different perspective. So starting there, I think it was an incredibly valuable experience that is really going to help benefit. And now we just need to also build upon that going forward as we go forward doing this equity policy. The other piece, and it was sort of building off what Director Sage had said earlier, was relationships did come out huge. Consistently, when community was talked about, and whether they were adults or kids, it was finding a group of some kind where you fit, you belonged, it was clear that was your place to be, and that could be in multiple locations. So I kept thinking, well, how do we go about doing this, especially in a remote environment? And so I think that was a big piece that jumped out at me. There was also, so you think of that component, that's environment, there was curriculum. The curriculum is not representative of our students. There are some low-hanging fruit that we could probably tackle on the curriculum side to have a much more representative opportunities in the literature that gets read and what gets discussed and how you bring that in. I think the idea of, and our HR presentation tonight was very key on that, was really looking at how do we work to remove the systemic bias that could be limiting our ability to have a representative staff at all levels of this. There are the components out, but there's also things we do within our place. Is it a good environment for people to stay? You know, we did have staff saying it can be very difficult. And I think we need to pay attention to that. So appreciate the actions that are going on now to help support that. There was just a lot of richness. I mean, across the board, just the opportunity to hear. And I would encourage anybody who was there, if you wanted to reach out to any of us at any time to continue to hold a conversation, I think any one of us would be very happy to meet with you or to meet with your group and be able to continue these dialogues. We will be going back out and continuing this work because this is ongoing. This really is a piece of our job as board members, is to be able to make sure the community values are represented and spoken to within the work that we do. So I found them incredibly invaluable, and I think we'll be using them consistently throughout this year as we go forward and build on things.
I'm sorry, I've lost track. Have we heard from, other than me, have we heard from every other board member? I'll just say, I echo everything without repeating what all the other board members have said. And the one thing that, the theme that's come away for me from the students we've talked to is the importance for our students of being able to say or feel, I belong here in our schools. And that plays an important role, and the students have made clear in their ability to perform academically and to be healthy. And it's an important thing for us to focus on as a district. This work is important. It has impact on our students, both in the short term and long term. So last thing, I just want to give kudos to our staff who have facilitated these so far. I am just so impressed by the skills that our team has in being able to facilitate these conversations and draw out really powerful statements from people, make the participants feel comfortable to share, and it's no small feat. So, thank you. Okay, any last comments? Okay, that is the last item on our agenda. Following tonight's board meeting, the board will meet in study session. The topics to be discussed are the operational expectation policy development on equity. So for those who are viewing at home and wish to view that, we will be taking a brief break before the study session, but then there will be you'll be able to click a link to view that meeting just as you're viewing this. In addition, we'll be discussing our 2021 legislative priorities. And then finally, following the study session, we'll meet an executive session for the purpose to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase and the minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease. There will be no board action following executive session. And our next scheduled board meeting and study session will be held remotely again on November 23rd, with the board meeting starting at 5 p.m. and the study session following thereafter, scheduled at 6 p.m., but more likely starting closer to, well, we're now at 7:15, so roughly around then. Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the November 9 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Director Carlson, seconded by Director Sage that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Okay.